Good morning, crafty people. It's Sharon here, and today I thought I'd bring you another video showing how I colour images with my Triblend pens from Spectrum Noir and then add shading with my colour blend pencils. Last time I did a flower, so today I thought I'd do something a little different. So I've chosen these gorgeous stamps from Julia McNeil, which are cute little robots. There's about 4 sets, and I really like them because they're brilliant for boys, which are always hard to make cards for. Plus you can adapt them for girls as well, so they're really great to use. So I'm going to be using this little guy here today, and I'll be making a finished card that you can see at the end of the video. So just briefly, I'm going to talk about the colours that I'm using today. I have my 3 Spectrum Noir Triblend pens, so if I just try and zoom in a little bit, there we go. Oop, the pencils have moved. So I am using Ice Grey Blend, Ice Blue Blend and Citrus Blend, and I'm going to be going for the paler colours in all of these. For my pencils, I'm going to be using Canary, Nectarine, Saddle Brown, Royal Blue, Petrol Blue and Black. And to make the blend work, as on my previous video, I'm going to use paper blending stumps, which are these here, and my blending solution, which looks like that. I don't use it straight from the bottle. I decant mine into a little tiny jam jar, and you can see I've put some little makeup sponges in the bottom, and then I can dip my blending tools into that without saturating the tools too much. I find that useful, and it's a great way to make sure you don't use too much of your blending solution and make it last even longer. So we'll come back to that in a minute. So here we are, I'm back now with my little image, which I've stamped with Memento black ink. I've just stamped him on a scrap of Nina card because I'm actually going to cut him out afterwards. So I've just put him on a little scrap, which makes him nice and easy to colour in and move the paper around. So this is a really easy technique. I'm going to start with my light colour, from my Ice Blue blend, and the light colour is IB1, and I'm going to make most of my robot blue. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit because I need to just twist it around a bit. There we go. So very simply, I'm going to colour all of my what will become my blue areas. And I'm not worrying about whether the ink dries out because I don't need it wet, because I'm not actually going to do any blending with my alcohol pens. I'm just laying down a very flat layer of colour, just going all around in my blue areas. And you'll notice if you have these stamps, or if you get any stamps from Julia McNeil, she has all colouring on the front of her packaging, as you saw, but also the acetate, which protects the stamps, has a coloured version on it as well. So it's really nice way to get you started if you're not sure about what colours to use. And then of course you can move forward and use whatever colours you like. In the case of this, it is actually quite a large area, so you could get away with using the brush pens instead of the pointy ones, but I just happened to have picked these ones because I had the colours that I wanted. So I'm just going to keep going until I'm done. There we go. So that's all my blue areas. Just give it another quick go over just to make sure it's fully covered. And that's my blue done. Next I'll do the yellow, and on this one I believe I am going to use CT2, which is actually the middle blend, but it's still quite light. So here we go. I'm going to go into the top here. And just basically going around colouring in any accent areas. The little turny key. Again, completely just flat colouring, just getting a layer of colour on there so that I'm ready to go with my blending in a minute. And this is really relaxing to do. If you want to do some craft but you don't really want to think about it too much, perhaps an evening or something, you can just stamp out a few images and start colouring flat layers like this, just to lay out your colour, knowing that later on you can go back to them and add pencil whenever you like. So it's just a nice way to wind down and relax. And now I'm going to go on to my final pen, which is Ice Grey Blend, and again I'm going for the very lightest colour, which is IG2, and all I'm going to do now is fill in the missing bits basically. So I am going to do inside his little visor here. I just realised I forgot to do his nose, so I'll come back to that in a second. There we go. His hands, if that's what you would call them. And his feet. And then just quickly come back to do his nose. And then that's all done with the alcohol pen colouring. So that's really quick to do. The next thing I'm going to do is bring in my pencil shading, and I am going to use my little dippy bottle and my blending paper stumps. I'll probably put that just off shot, but basically I've got paper stumps and I've got one for each colour that I intend to use, because what will happen is if you use say a blue and a yellow, with yellow or blue together, you'll end up with green. They will mix, so you do need to have a stump for each colour type that you're using. So I'll put those to the side there, and then first of all we're going to start laying down our pencil. Now what we're going to do with this is do the shading where we think we need it, and the best thing about this is that you don't have to do perfect colouring, you just basically scribble it on where you want it. So I am thinking that this is kind of a round head. I'm going to put my shading in the side. I'm not pressing too hard, but I'm not worrying that it's a bit streaky either. And I'm going to add a little bit across the top there, because I think there would be a little shade. And this is Royal Blue, which was the lighter colour of my two blues. And now I'm going to go in with my Petrol Blue, which is slightly darker, and over the top I'm just going to add that into the corners where I want it to be a little bit darker. The secret is don't press too hard, because if you put too much pencil down, it will eventually fill up the tooth in the paper and you won't be able to add any more later on if you want to. So I am going quite lightly, but you can see the colour is really coming down on there. And then I'm going to do the same on the bottom. And you can actually go over and do the whole of your robot in the same way before you actually start the blending process, because these are not going to dry out or anything like that. I'm just putting a little bit under his nose there. And in with my darkest colour in the corner. Okay, so now I'm ready to go in with my blending stump. I've got my blue one here, and I'm going to take my blending solution, just dip my pen stump in there, and you can see that the solution starts to blend up the stump, and then we're ready to go. Oops, sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the middle and blend my way out and in just on that paler area, and hopefully you can see that it kind of starts to melt and smooth out. It's really a really fun thing to do. Once I've done that a little bit, I'm going to go out to the outer edge and start bringing in that darker colour, and the same on the other side. And then I've still got my light area in the middle just to provide a bit of highlight, and then the same on the bottom. And if you need, you can refresh your paper stump and add a bit more blending solution, but you'll find it might go quite a long way. But if you feel like you're having to scrub a little bit, it's probably time to add a little bit more. There. So there we have our first layer, and you can see that there's a gradation from the dark to the light. But what we can do is go back in and add a bit more. So I'm going back with my petrol blue, and I'm going back into the corner to add a little bit more just to make that even darker. And then once again, quick dip of my blending stump, and I'm just pulling that out just to darken the very edges. And then finally, this might seem a bit extreme, but it really does work, is I'm going to take my black and I'm just going to add the tiniest bit. You don't really need hardly any because this is quite strong, and I find that it blends out quite easily just at the very edges. And I just need to find a paper stump that will do my black. I'll use this one, and again I am going to pull that out, and what that does is it really gives a little bit of shadow. Can you see how that's melting away and spreading quite far? You really just need the tiniest bit of the black, but it seems to make an enormous difference in terms of giving that shade that makes his head look round. And whilst we've got the black, I'm also going to go inside the visor and add a little bit more shade. Or you could do it with a darker version of the Triblend pen if you like, but I quite like to do it this way. And again, I'm just blending. There, you can see there how far that little tiny amount goes. So just be very cautious. You can always add a little bit more if you feel you need more, but it will very quickly overwhelm if you're not careful with it. There we go. So that's his head done, and as you can see, that was pretty quick. I'm going to carry on with the black for a moment. I'm going to just show you some of these little pieces. So again, on the dark areas, I'm just literally drawing a line on the edge, and the same for here. This is so quick to do but gives such a brilliant result. And his hand, I'm going to draw a line there and under, like so. Back with my blending tool, and there you go, it just pulls straight out. It's really satisfying, but gives a brilliant blend. And just using the black and the grey would be brilliant for a monochrome, almost as if you'd drawn it with pencil kind of sketch, if you wanted to do something that way. But there you go. I didn't even put any pencil up the top here, but you can still spread it, so that's really great. So hopefully there, I'll just zoom in a bit. You can see that we've blended, but we've also got a little bit of definition as well, which is always nice to see. And then you can see here where the black has gone in, and we've got our shading. So now I'm going to do a little bit of yellow just to show you these bits, and then I will pause while I finish colouring the rest of him for you. So for the yellow, I've actually used 3 shades. I've got Canary, which I'm going to use just at the bottom. It's very, very subtle, so I'm not sure, I wasn't sure if it would actually work. And there is a slight change there, but it's very, very subtle. And what I did with this one is I decided to just blend that out straight away because I thought I might lose it completely. So all I want is a very delicate change, and I'm just touching the edges where it meets my pale Spectrum Noir Triblend area to colour that in. Then I have got Nectarine, which is an orange colour, and I'm going in with a bit of that, and on these tiny pieces I'm literally again just drawing lines on the edges. Now I think probably the most you can get away with in terms of layering, blending and then layering again is probably about 3 goes. After that there's just probably too much wax on there for it to take any more actual pencil, so just bear that in mind when you're doing your colouring. But what you can do obviously is layer down multiple colours in one go. There, you can see that's now a bit darker, but it doesn't have that sort of shadow effect, and I don't want to use black on this now. I want a warmer colour, which is why I went for Saddle Brown, which you see here, and I am just drawing a bit of a shadow just to bring a little bit more depth. And on these little wrinkly arms I put the shadow underneath where the wrinkles are, if that makes sense. Excuse me. And again a quick little blend just to pull that out, and it's a much softer kind of shadow, but what you get in the end is a real sort of shiny golden look, because you've gone from dark to light. Okay, so I'm going to pause now while I just complete the colouring of this little guy, and then I'll come back to you and show you what I'm going to do with him and my final card. So here I am back with my completed image. As you can see, I've followed exactly the same process on the rest of his body, using the very same pencils and shading with a little tiny bit of black. I also added a little bit of black on his turny key thing, and also on his legs, because I thought they were very in shadow, so I just wanted to make those a little bit darker. And now I'll show you the card that I've completed using this little guy. Here's my final card. So here's my little robot guy. I cut him out with scissors, and I've just in the end mounted him on some very thin sticky pads to add him on. But before that I created this background, and what you can see is I've cut again from white card, and I stenciled using some yellow and some blue to match with my robot. This I think is a Funky Fossil stencil, but I didn't keep the packaging, so I can't be absolutely certain about that. All these lovely cogs and things that you see around the edge came from other sets from this robot group of stamps. I'll just bring in one of them. There you go, there's another one, a bot's best friend. This is the cog that I used, and this is the sentiment that I used on this occasion. I actually cut one from plain card and made a mask so that I could actually stamp them one over the other, and my sentiment I stamped onto plain card, did a little scribble around the edge, which meant that I could just freehand cut this sentiment, which is much easier than trying to slice it on a trimmer. And if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter, because I've given it that kind of scribbly effect. So I find that a useful technique to use for sentiments. When I put it in place, I felt like there was a lot of blank area in here, so I found some more little cogs in those stamp sets, and I just stamped them randomly to fill up that space in the middle before finally adding my sentiment on the top. And all of these were all coloured with those same Triblend pens, completely flat, no blending. I think I might have used the middle IG4 for this particular cog, and then I've used the CT3, so the slightly darker blends, but still fairly pale, so that they're in the background. And that's my finished card. But before I go, I'll just show you quickly that robots are for girls as well. And I'll move that one away. And I will bring in this lady. And she comes with a sentiment that says, "Does my bot look big?" And I think that's really funny. So this one I've coloured in pink for a girl with a sort of greyish silver tint, in exactly the same process, just using slightly different colours. So that's my video for today. I really hope you enjoyed that. If you liked it, please feel free to subscribe to my channel and come back another day, because I hope to keep adding more videos like this so that we can get some more education out there. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon.